Welcome back to Trending in Education. Dan Strafford, Mike Palmer, joined by Brandon Jones. You know him, you love him from episodes past. We're going to talk about gifts for your kids in your life and also lifelong learners, educational and learning gifts that are available this holiday season. But first and foremost, always like to check in. Mike, how are you doing this holiday season?
I'm doing well, and good tidings, wassail, and good favor, good fortune upon our listeners, upon my fellow podcasters, both on the show and out there in the universe. It's a good time of year to be podcasting and to be thinking about where things are heading in the future. And for many of us, the future is going to involve giving gifts. So, and then to bring it all home, we have Brandon back as like a return gift. So, so Brandon, welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm the gift that keeps on showing up. You keep on trying to return it, but Amazon says no more returns from your family. Happy to be here. This is always fun to do this with the two of you, and in this fun time of year, season of giving and reflecting on the end of not just a year, but the end of a decade. I think this is it's a fun time.
A broad scope of episodes we've done in the past around gift giving in 2018, 2017 as well. Want to call back to them. Obviously, if you want to check those out, still gifts that can be given from those episodes. You can go listen to them and get some ideas. Talked about magnet tiles at length in our first episode, and there's more to come in my household for those because they're back into them. So we're going to get to that this holiday season as well. But Mike, when you think about learning gifts, I did make a note in one of the articles we shared, I think it was a today.com article, and had 30 learning gifts to provide to young learners. And it did have sort of this caveat line as a subhead that said, yes, there are actually toys that can teach kids important skills, which I kind of took a little bit of umbrage with, that we've talked many times over about how playing and fun can be part of learning as well. And it feels like today is saying, hey, folks, learning can be fun too. We knew that already here, right?
Yeah, but don't take umbrage at that, Dan. I mean, you only have so much. We only have so much umbrage in our lives, right? I mean, to take umbrage with that, I mean, it's a choice, sure. I mean, I'll respect your choice if you got to go there. But for me, I just like looking at. I like anything that allows me to kind of think about what it's like to be a child, because children know how to play and know how to have fun. And when you're thinking about shopping for kids, and as someone who's now raising a kid, it's just fun to kind of be able to re-engage with that joy. And then the learning side is really interesting too. Like the Montessori style of toy is really cool. And a lot of those I think are actually more tangible, physical, rather than digital. And all that I think is really, really interesting. And I would say this article kind of got me going there. So whatever umbrage you took, Dan, I'm giving back.
You talked me down. I appreciate that. You talked me down. But where are you starting with the gifts for kids this year? What are some that stand out to you, maybe from this article or others that you've seen? You talked about the Montessori style. What do you see, and what do you see as some of the best to give, or the best you'd maybe want to receive as an adult at this point?
Sure. Well, I like just the whole category of gifts that are like subscription based, so that you keep getting them throughout the year. So like you get a surprise, or you get a wine of the month, you get a book of the month. Matthew was part of a service called Love Every Baby, and they give you like developmentally appropriate toys for the first year of your kid's life. And then we've gotten that for other friends who just had kids. So like, I would recommend the Love Every Baby subscription if you can get it, and then just that general style of toy, which is like it's like wood and sturdy craftsmanship, like, and a lot of smooth edges, and then even like, at least for the first year of life, there's a lot of like standard developmental stages that you want to hit. So like there's like the ring toy and the sort of pool like splash toys. They all come every 2 months. And when you're a new parent, you kind of need Christmas to last all year long. You kind of need anything to kind of like break into your monotony and fear, especially in the first 6 months. And then it all gets better too. So for me, you know, having like Matthew is close to a Christmas baby, the love every baby gift I think is a really good one to kind of kick it off with. And then that's a whole category like of gift style where like they're not as, you know, maybe you spend for 6 deliveries that are smaller that are spread across the year. I kind of like that idea. And then also I'm going to have a Christmas time baby. So I'm probably going to want to get him subscriptions too, so that he gets toys throughout the year and doesn't feel gypped on Christmas. So there you go.
Great starting point. My brother was a January 2nd birth baby, so he, by his count, only celebrated his birthday 15 times. He is now 42 years old, so he tries to to play that game with the parents from time to time. Brandon, how about yourself? You have a daughter of a learning age. All of us learn throughout our lives, but Penny herself, anything on her wish list that you think is a learning objective or something you look forward to getting for her this year?
Yeah, I think it's just interesting. You mentioned this, Dan, already about the shows we've already done, but I just was reflecting on that and thinking about for this show. And you know, it's interesting to see how much my daughter has grown up and changed from needing the smooth wooden toys that were the right thing for her 4 years ago. She's now 5, to Magna tiles, which we talked about I think the last couple of times, to you know, what's on her list for this year. So just as a note, and maybe this is a shill to get people to go back and listen to some of the back catalog here to see what gift ideas of Christmases past or holiday seasons past there may have been. But it's also just interesting to see the development happen so fast at this age. So that's just one note. I've got a couple other items. One is I keep on buying her the Wine of the Month Club, my 5-year-old, and it just, she says, what's all this mommy juice doing in our house?
Yeah.
The Knife of the Month Club also has been very
popular. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah. That may come in handy later. But you know, it's for what's on Penny's list for this year. A couple thoughts, and some notes to the listeners around this. So she's asking for a fish, which I think is interesting. We have a dog in the home, but it's a family dog. It preceded Penny's arrival, and it's really Jenny's dog. Jenny's my wife, but the fish, I think it's interesting, the idea of giving life, and especially something that has such a tenuous hold on life like a fish, to a child. And so I've had to have the conversation. I'm like, Penny, when we get this fish, it will die. And you know, that's and she's at a certain age, like your child, Mike, Matthew, is too young for that conversation. Dan, I'm sure you've had those conversations with especially your older girls, but you know, you have to, if you're buying something like a fish, let me just tell you, PSA to all there out there, you're buying a tiny brush with death. So just want to set your kids up for that expectation. But I think that being said, that is a good gift. And Penny, I hope you're not listening to this show. I've just been talking about wine and knives for you. But if you are, spoiler alert, there's a fish in your future. So
I really like the idea of with your fish, you get like a little insert of the learning objectives around a lesson plan for talking about death with your child, right? Like, I'm only kind of making a joke here. Like, it's
right. Well, whether you're formalizing
barely a joke.
Either you're formalizing it with learning objectives and formative and summative assessments or not, like you are, like that is a thing that you're getting for your child when you're getting especially a fish. It's not, you know, you get a new puppy and you know, you're hoping to not have that conversation for 12 years or whatever. But when you get a fish, it could be like in that first week, you don't know. I've also promised Penny that if the fish does end up sleeping with the fishes, that we will go and celebrate at Red Lobster here in the city.
Wow.
But anyway, so that's one item. A couple other notes. So Penny is Big into Legos. I know Legos is that's not a light bulb idea for folks listening, but I will say, encouraging your children to not just build to the instructions, but just have a big box that you can build from.
Right.
Building with your child. I think the through line for all of mine is doing things with your child. So making a gift also include the gift, I'm making air quotes here, of your time. I think is really beneficial. And Legos, this is not brought to you, training and education brought to you by Legos, but Legos continues to be a really great toy. I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, like the Legos thing too, because like they've just dominated for a long time.
Yeah.
And, like no one can really break into that category. I think it's just because they're so resilient and like snap together about their control of the category.
They got that market on Snapdown.
Yeah, exactly.
Last two things for kids. Maybe we'll come back to talk about adults in a second, but the last two things for my kid anyway. I just lean into their interests, and so Penny is really into dolls. That's not been my jam, but instead of sort of trying to buck that, just trying to lean into it. So getting clothes and stuff for, it's obviously a very commercial experience, but there's a lot of play. I mean, she's playing family with those dolls,
right?
Really a lot. And there's obviously a lot of formative stuff that happens for her in those moments. And then this is leaning into your child's interests and non-traditional gifts here. Penny's really into tape, like rolls of Scotch tape. She loves to do art and art projects, construction, and sometimes I'll come back to my apartment. I live in New York City, so it's an apartment, not a house, and there's just a spider web of tape that's just up all over our apartment. But I'm buying rolls of tape. Like I need to go to Costco with how much tape that I'm buying. But that's a thing that is, if we didn't lean into it, could have been just aggravating. Right, like there's all this friggin' tape around now, but it's a thing that I would say whatever the tape is for your child or for the child in your life, a gift that is going to provide them the opportunity to continue to express their creativity. It doesn't need to be a toy that you'll find on a toy list. Children are having creative and playful experiences with all sorts of things. So find that thing, know those children in your life well enough to know what that thing is for them, and then lean into it.
Yeah, I will say my kids are into duct tape, and they have actually books on duct tape designs and building things with duct tape. And I did not lean in at first to that. I said, you will not be purchasing various different colors and designs of duct tape, but here we are with a box that has a variety of different duct tapes in it. For me, my daughters are 9, 6, and 2 at this point. So there's a wide range of gifts that are happening this year. But the thing that I found this year, especially with the 9 and 6-year-old, is trying to focus more on experiences, trying to get out of the house. And that, Brendan, Mike, you both made the point of it involves our time too, right? And that's a gift in and of itself, spending time with your family, spending time with your kids or kid down the street or whatever it might be. But one thing I found for free, for those of you who are listening who have 4th graders, the National Park Service gives them free passes to every national park in the country for free for 4th grade. So my oldest is in 4th grade this year. We're signing up. We're going to get out and do that locally and hopefully more broadly in the New England region to get to all these parks. It also does stuff online. So you can log in and see the different parks across the country, learn about different things. And on the same vein, we got a science museum subscription pass. So basically we have a family pass, and we're trying to schedule out plans. Things change, right? We all have busy schedules. Things can become very hectic with multiple kids or individual kids, especially trying to get them from place to place and get yourself from place to place. We're trying to make a schedule this year. And that's another gift we're trying to give the kids, of scheduling out time to make sure it's not, sorry, we can't go this weekend because of XYZ. That's our plans. So it's sort of a little bit different than we've done in the past, but I think the experience model is something I'm trying to focus on, get them out, get them learning in that way. And then, of course, Brent, there are dolls, and there are the asked for a Nintendo Switch, which we gave in on. So we are going gaming here in this house, which we haven't done before. My middle child is very into baby dolls, so there's lots of baby clothes, but to your point, there's a lot of learning happening there, a lot of care, and a lot of take care of your stuff aspect to it. But I think there's a lot of great toys. We have some great links that I'm going to share out on social when this goes out. Overstock has a pretty good list actually in individual buckets that describe different gifts for younger learners. Do want to turn our attention to lifelong learners before we close out the podcast.
Dan, before we go there, like I think we should probably also like talk a little bit about how commercial Christmas is and how the holiday season is a time to understand how parents who have a lot of wherewithal to kind of buy anything that might make sense for their kids can do that. There's also other families out there and other people who don't have kids who I think also can benefit from this conversation. I think both from thinking about how they might give gifts to kids or try to recapture sort of that innocence of youth, which is why I think we like giving gifts to kids. But I think it's also a good time to remind ourselves and our kids about empathizing with other families and also, hearkening back to the idea of, don't be a turkey, learn to be grateful. I think there's also the idea of like, if you are able to shop well for your friends and your family, and if you do have time to spend time with your kids, and if your family's doing well like that, that's great. But also try to empathize with other families that are out there. So I just want to make sure we kind of hit that note before we just kind of rattled off stuff that we might want to buy. So
makes total sense to me, and a great point to hammer home here as we discuss through gift giving, but also learning and the idea behind the holiday season and what we can and cannot do. I think that's a great point.
The other just quick thought too is more the Montessori idea, which I didn't realize Brandon has list and he wanted to knock it out. So I would have liked to. Some of those were, by the way, is a wonderful list. I would have loved to get into the nuance of the recommendations. But the Montessori idea is the other part that I want to make sure I hit, at least on the kid side, because like that approach to learning that I'm starting to understand is, I think, something that we probably want to embrace for our whole lives, which is more the idea of like self-directed learning and designing experiences. To get back to your point, which I also think is a good one, Dan, is like, giving experiences is something that people frequently carry with them their whole lives. So like that's obviously a good idea for a gift, but like lots of times a Montessori style design for a kid lets them sort of discover what interests them. So reminds me of the idea of like, parent the child you have, not the child you want, so like I like the idea that there is a school of thought around educating young kids that I think can help inform, in a best case, the way we would sort of design environments for kids to learn in. Because I still think when you're playing with a great toy, or you have a doll and you're sort of having a conversation with the doll, like you're learning, like your brain is developing while you do those things. And I think it's easy to kind of lose sight of all that.
Totally. And I think there are multiple ways to go here. And I think each child is different in understanding what they're into, and getting to Brendan's point before about leaning into some of those gifts, and then maybe taking some of these different veins to lean into the things that they're into and attack the learning aspect of some of these gifts that might be there is a great point as well. Mike, do want to get some thoughts on lifelong learners or adult learners, whatever way we want to categorize that. I would go again with experiences. I've started to research stuff for my wife in that and I think that obviously the caveat is, we learn every day, and things we do and interactions we have, we're learning and we're understanding different things, but trying to really look for things that would be exciting for her and things she could get out and do in 2020. What about yourself, Mike, from a lifelong learning perspective, an adult learner, somebody in your life that you want to maybe give a gift to that you think would enjoy something from a learning lens? What are you looking at this holiday season?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, like I'm still thinking back to the idea of digital inclusion and like volunteering at a library, or, taking your kids to the library and then showing them how to do stuff, and then kind of helping other people who might not, particularly, that's talking about digitally, helping people is something I've been thinking a little bit more about. But I just think, generally speaking, experiences that kind of help put the child in context, so that they understand kind of what's going on around them, which is why, museums are great for that. If you are in a city with a museum, it's also great when a lot of this stuff is free, which is also why I love like the Smithsonian down in DC. But yeah, anything that sort of creates quality time with the people you love, that's really why I do think the commercial side of the holidays can kind of get in the way sometimes, when ultimately, as cliche as it may sound, like why these days are great for people who have amazing experiences is because they're having great experiences with people they love, so if you can find more balance in your life to spend more time with the people you love, like that's probably the best way to think about it. And if that does mean spending a little more on an experience versus something more material, particularly like, I'm hearing a lot more about like, fast fashion, stuff that just, is not going to last, so if you can give somebody a gift that they'll probably hold on to for maybe more than a Christmas or two, that's the other sort of high level recommendation. And then the toy space is so fun. Like I would recommend, even if you don't have kids, like spend some time just like looking over some of these links. Cause like, I actually think we sort of shut off parts of our brain and parts of our imagination once we sort of pass some developmental milestones. And just even browsing some of these toys, these learning toys in that same Today article, it's just fun. Like I think like give yourself the freedom to kind of have a little bit of fun and play. Because life's pretty somber sometimes. So
I would say I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I went through a phase with my kids of not getting down on the floor with them, where I'd be, playing with them, but would be up a level and realize that it was not enjoyable. And allowing myself to get on the floor and engage sort of in my child self and play in that way made it that much more enjoyable for me. And I think in turn made it that much more enjoyable for my kids. And the interaction became much more not, Daddy, play with me. Okay, I'm going to sit here while you play, or I'm going to do some small things, getting involved and having an enjoyable time. It gets tough, and we sort of have to make those decisions at times to dive in, to lean into it and get on the floor, let things get messy. Yes, I'll have to vacuum later, but we can figure it out for now. Brandon, how about yourself? Lifelong learners, maybe adults in your life, what you're looking to bring to them from a learning perspective this holiday season?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, before I get there, one note on children again. This is a hot take. Another alternative is to give your child the gift of a disinterested parent, which will set you up for a whole life of opportunity to have that conversation with all sorts
low
of
bar. Yeah.
Low bar it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying to Penny. Like, I don't want to set an expectation you feel like you need to live up to. I want to set an expectation that you feel like you can overcome.
Right.
So I instead of getting on the floor, I just leave the room. So, I mean, here's my other hot take. I may never want to ever get a gift again. And that doesn't mean that I'm unappreciative or
you mean receive a gift, right?
Yeah. I may never want to get a gift again.
Well, you could also get a gift to give a gift. I just was trying to clarify.
Thank you for helping me get disambiguous with it. Yeah. I don't want to sound like an ingrate, but it's a little touch of your point about the over commercialization just of the holiday season and life. So a nod to that, and thanks for saying that, Mike. I totally agree. And the two, it's just in today, and it's partly because I'm an old now, but in the world out there, it's just so easy to get what you want / need, right? That now I would say. I should clarify, a physical good gift I'm all set with. Experiential gifts I'm all for. So I think that I'm going to just reiterate what the two of you said, but I do that because I agree with it. Something that involves your time, and that can be going out to a restaurant, that can be going to a museum, that can be going to give back to the community, that can be any form of that, but choosing to give your time and invest your time with your loved ones in whatever configuration that is in your life. I think that's that I think is very valuable. And so
I got one addendum on that, which I agree 100%. Just as a parent of a new kid, is like percussion instruments, like tambourines. Like, don't be shy about giving an adult a tambourine. A maraca.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because I enjoy playing with these toys, and I don't want to have to stop. Like, how long when Matthew's like 5, we're still playing with the rattle? It's wrong. But what if I give him a maracas? Or I don't know. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think there's depends on what percussion instrument, right? Like a bass drum.
Yeah, no, or like manipulatives.
What about a steel drum?
I mean, my family would want me to say yes, but I'd say that's probably still a drum. Anything short, like a really small xylophone.
Castanets? Castanets?
100% castanets. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, fair note, noted. I think that, there's just so much of the world for those who have the means is accessible to them. And I think it's important to be thoughtful about that there are folks with different levels of means, but even for those who have the means to get and give gifts, I think it really is, it's important just to think about the time. And so I like, Dan, the thing that you said about trying to calendar it out into the future. I think one of the things that gets in our way is there's more that we could do than we can do. And, to figuring out what you do, that sounds like a word that new parents say. Figuring out how you actually get scheduled to do the things you want to do is I think really important.
Absolutely agreed there. I will point out my wife has often joked that the gift you give the in-law you don't like for their kids is a drum set. So if that is, you just buy the whole drum set, send it to their house, and then say have fun. But I agree with the shaky toys. That's what we call them in the house, like shaky eggs and maracas. And
for adults, though, I'm saying for adults, for your grandmother, for your cousin, they'll just be confused. Like, is it a gourd? No, it's a gourd. It's a percussion instrument. It's not a gourd. Why would I give you a gourd?
You can get them on, a web video service, and you can do a band, like get everybody on one call and do it over. Just have to figure out some
next time we'll bring our tambourines next time.
Exactly right. Any final thoughts, Brandon or Mike? Wrapping the show up a little bit here. But as we talk through learning, this is something obviously I think throughout the year we talk about different ways to engage learners and to bring different ideas to them. And this is a time of year where we can be a little bit more fun about it to an extent by giving gifts and talking about, Mike, I think he did make a great point about means and the like. But any final thoughts, Mike or Brandon, before we go?
No, it's a good time to think about other people as well as yourself, and then also think about people who are lonely, because I think a lot of people are lonely around the holidays. So especially if you can do anything to sort of help the folks who might be more on their own, because it's a tough time when there aren't other folks around as much. So and I'm not sure exactly what to do, but at least keep those folks in mind. And if you can align that with something you can do, that's even better.
Brandon, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just think from all of us to all of you, happy, and however you do it. And we're wish you the best this season.
I echo that. Enjoy your time this holiday season with whatever way you are celebrating, and hopefully you'll be back to listen to Trending Education in the future. Check out that back catalog for some other gift ideas as well. 2018, 2017. You can find us on Twitter at Trending in Ed. Same over on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/trending in education. And always, we want to hear from you. If you have any great gift ideas that you want to share for the young learners or adult learners in your life, happy to hear them on any of those social media platforms. With that said, thanks so much for listening to Trending in Education.